Step back with me to an era when gardening wasn't reliant on modern tools. Back when Nonni tended her garden with just her hands, simple wisdom, and knowledge passed down generations. She grew paradise without fancy greenhouses or chemicals. Her secrets were timeless tricks, pure genius born from observation and experience. This was wisdom about working with nature, about resourcefulness, and about finding abundance in simple ways. Today, we're uncovering 20 incredible, often forgotten garden features and practices from Nonni's world. Her garden was a masterpiece of love and ingenuity. Let's rediscover these lost secrets. Cold frames. How did Nonni manage to get a head start on planting before spring fully arrived? Her ingenious solution was the cold frame. This was a simple, bottomless wooden box placed in a sunny spot, topped with a clear lid, often made from old window panes or salvaged glass. The transparent lid captured sunlight, creating a microclimate inside that was significantly warmer than the outside air, sometimes 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit warmer on a sunny day. This warmth was crucial for encouraging early seed germination and protecting tender young seedlings from frost, snow, and cold winds. It acted as a cozy, insulated nursery bed. I remember helping Nonni sow tiny lettuce and radish seeds in one, and being amazed when green shoots appeared weeks before neighbors' gardens started. Cold frames were Nonni's secret weapon for those coveted early harvests. While modern heated greenhouses offer advanced control, cold frames are incredibly budget-friendly, energy-efficient, and sustainable. You can build one from reclaimed materials like old windows and lumber. If you want a cost-effective way to extend your growing season and get a jump on spring, a cold frame is a wonderfully practical and nostalgic feature worth reviving. Next, let's discover how Nonni blended garden productivity with pure fun, creating a magical and edible play space. Backyard bean teepee. What if a part of your garden could serve a dual purpose as a secret hideout or a whimsical fort, specifically for children? That was the enchanting appeal of Nonni's backyard bean teepee. This delightful structure was surprisingly simple to create. She would arrange tall poles, often bamboo canes or sturdy branches, in a large circle on the ground, tying the tops together to form a cone shape. Around the base of each pole, she would plant climbing beans, like pole beans or runner beans. As the vines grew rapidly, they covered the poles with a dense, leafy canopy, creating a shaded, cool, and wonderfully private enclosure inside. A natural room made entirely of plants. It quickly became the absolute favorite spot for me and my cousins to gather, whisper secrets, play hide and seek, or just escape the direct sun. The best part? We could reach out and pluck crisp, young bean pods right from the vines that formed our walls. I can still vividly hear Nonni's warm laughter when she saw us nestled inside. In today's world, with smaller yards and plastic play structures, bean teepees are becoming rare. But they are a wonderfully joyful, productive, and environmentally friendly addition. Nonni's teepee showed me gardens can cultivate imagination and play just as much as food. Building one is simple and involves kids. It's a unique feature blending childhood fun, garden function, and a connection to nature. Nonni's garden also cultivated something just as vital as plants, a strong sense of community and mutual support. Let's explore how that came to life. Victory gardens. How did Nonni manage to ensure her family had enough to eat even during challenging historical periods like wartime? She cultivated a victory garden. These were gardens planted by ordinary citizens in their backyards, parks, and vacant lots during World War I and II. Their primary goal was to boost domestic food production, supplementing family diets, and reducing the civilian demand on commercial food supplies, which were needed for the military and subject to rationing. Planting a victory garden was seen as a patriotic duty, boosting morale and fostering self-reliance. Every patch of soil became a potential haven for vegetables. While I didn't live through the war, Nonni often shared stories about their family's victory garden, describing how everyone pitched in with deep pride in their harvest. More than just providing food, these gardens fostered incredible community spirit. Neighbors shared tools, advice, and surplus harvests. Nonni would trade her beans or tomatoes for a neighbor's extra potatoes or corn, building strong bonds of mutual support during difficult times. Today, the necessity has faded, but the spirit lives on in community gardens and home food production for sustainability and self-reliance. Nonni's garden, rooted in victory garden principles, was a powerful symbol of resilience. It showed we can nourish ourselves, and support neighbors through growing food. Starting one connects you to this history and provides a sense of empowerment. Nonni had even more clever ways to work with the environment and strategically protect her precious plants from challenging weather. Let's look at one of her most significant physical features: walled garden. How did Nonni manage to create such a favorable microclimate within a specific area of her garden? A sheltered haven less susceptible to harsh weather. A significant physical feature was her walled garden. Enclosed by substantial solid walls, typically of stone or brick, this wasn't just a fence, it was a structure that influenced the climate. The dense walls absorbed heat from the sun throughout the day and slowly radiated it outwards into the enclosed space during the evening and night. This created a warmer microclimate inside, often several degrees warmer than outside, providing crucial protection for tender plants from frost and cold winds. The walls also acted as an excellent windbreak. I remember the feeling of stepping through the gate into a distinctly calmer, warmer, secret world inside. Nonni strategically planted delicate or heat-loving crops along the warmest walls. Building a walled area improves growing conditions. In modern design, open plans are common, making walled gardens rarer, but they remain stunning, functional, and highly productive. Nonni's walls made her garden a sanctuary. It's a timeless feature combining architectural form with horticultural function and beauty. Nonni also dedicated specific areas to reliable, long-term, perennial crops. Let's explore one that was essential for her baking and taught a valuable lesson in patience: the rhubarb patch. How did Nonni ensure she always had a consistent supply of those wonderfully tart stalks for her legendary pies and jams? She maintained a dedicated rhubarb patch. Rhubarb is a remarkably hardy, long-lived perennial plant. Once established, it yields abundant harvests of its edible stalks for many decades with relatively little care. Nonni often said, "Plant it once, and it'll very likely outlive you." This highlighted its reliability and the long-term perspective of perennial gardening. I remember watching her harvest the thick, colorful stalks, pulling them gently from the base. The air would fill with that uniquely tangy scent. Bringing those bundles into the kitchen meant delicious things were about to happen: pies, crumbles, jams. Rhubarb's sharp tartness was perfect when cooked down with sugar. In contemporary gardening, perennial patches might seem like a big space commitment compared to annuals. However, for those who appreciate low-effort, high-yield plants, rhubarb is a true gem. Nonni's patch taught sustainability and patience, reliable harvests with minimal fuss once going. If you love homemade sweet tart treats, planting rhubarb is a fantastic idea. It brings the distinctive flavors and traditions of the past directly to your kitchen for years. Nonni's garden was clearly a place of incredible ingenuity and practical solutions, wasn't it? From mastering the climate to cultivating patience and creating delicious abundance. But her cleverness and resourcefulness extended far beyond just expertly growing food. She was also a true master of preservation. How did she keep fresh vegetables and fruits available throughout the long winter, long before electric refrigeration was common? Stay right there to discover Nonni's incredibly ingenious, low-tech methods for food preservation, techniques that worked directly with nature, and uncover more secrets from her remarkable and sustainable garden. Root cellars. How did Nonni manage to keep large quantities of harvested vegetables fresh throughout the entire cold winter without an electric refrigerator or freezer? She utilized the Earth's stable temperature in a root cellar. This was a passive, underground storage space designed to maintain a consistently cool temperature, usually just above freezing, 32 to 40 degrees Celsius or 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, and high humidity, 85 to 95%. This environment is ideal for slowing down spoilage and preventing shriveling in root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, parsnips, as well as apples, cabbage, and winter squash. The stable temperature comes from being underground, below the frost line, while humidity is natural or added. I remember going down into Nonni's cool, dark, earthy-smelling root cellar with a lantern to fetch vegetables for dinner. Seeing the bins and crates filled with preserved bounty was a comforting display of foresight and security. Nonni's root cellar was a treasure trove, ensuring her family had food throughout winter. Today, dedicated root cellars are rare, but are an excellent energy-free storage solution for large harvests. Nonni's cellar taught lessons in planning, self-reliance, and working with nature's cycles. If you have space like a cool basement or suitable outdoor spot, Exploring root cellaring principles is a resourceful feature connecting you to traditional food security. Nonni's garden also included beautiful, functional spaces designed for people to gather, relax, and enjoy the bounty. Let's visit her grape arbor. Backyard grape arbor. Imagine stepping into a shaded retreat in the middle of the garden on a hot summer day, feeling the temperature drop, looking up through leafy vines, and seeing clusters of ripening grapes hanging down. That was the enduring charm of Nonni's backyard grape arbor, a sturdy overhead structure, typically wood, designed to support climbing grapevines planted at its base. As the vines grew, they were trained to cover the top, forming a dense, leafy canopy. This living roof provided wonderful natural shade, transforming the space beneath into a cool, inviting outdoor room, perfect for relaxing or socializing. And, delightfully, it produced abundant grapes. Nonni's arbor was a central hub for family gatherings, sharing stories, and enjoying the simple pleasure of picking warm, sun-ripened grapes right from the vine. Today, arbors are common, but growing edible grapes on them is less frequent in smaller yards. However, it's a beautifully functional multi-purpose feature. Nonni's arbor blended beauty, utility, and bounty. It showed gardens can be productive and inviting spaces for connection. If you have the necessary space and sunshine, planting grapes on an arbor offers shade, food, and a timeless, charming spot for making cherished memories year after year. Nonni took her grape growing even further than just a single arbor vine. Let's explore her small vineyard area. Vineyard, small scale. Did Nonni grow grapes specifically for making wine or larger quantities of juice and preserves? Yes, she cultivated a small-scale vineyard area, not a vast commercial one, but a dedicated section of her larger garden with multiple rows of grapevines specifically selected, planted, and trained on posts and wires for more intensive production than just a few vines on an arbor. Cultivating this small vineyard required careful planning, proper soil, selecting suitable grape varieties for her climate and intended use, and importantly, dedicated annual pruning. Pruning grapevines is an essential skill for managing growth, ensuring good air circulation to prevent disease, and promoting optimal fruit production year after year. It was a labor of love requiring consistent effort. Each fall, it yielded abundant grapes used for juice, jam, or nonni, and my grandfather's homemade wine. I helped pick, feeling connected to an ancient agricultural tradition. Today, backyard vineyards are rare compared to the past. But for those with space, climate, and passion, they offer a deep, rewarding connection to the land and the process of cultivation. Nonni's vineyard taught patience, skill, and the rewards of consistent, dedicated work. If you have the conditions and passion, planting a small vineyard is a feature embodying tradition and promising a challenging but fulfilling connection to the earth and its harvest. Patience was undeniably a cornerstone of Nonni's gardening wisdom, a virtue she practiced daily, and perhaps no plant demanded this quality quite as much as the next one. Let's look at her asparagus bed. The asparagus bed. Why did Nonni make the conscious decision to plant something knowing she would have to wait several years, typically 2 to 3, before being able to enjoy a significant harvest? She established an asparagus bed. Asparagus is a true perennial vegetable. Plant the crowns once, and the same root system will reliably send up edible spears year after year, potentially for 20 or more years. However, the crucial test of patience is that the first few years are vital for the plant to focus all energy on developing a strong root system underground. You must refrain from significant harvesting early on. Nonni understood this long-term investment. She knew patience in those initial years would be richly rewarded for decades. Spring's arrival brought eager anticipation, watching for the first thick spears, a true sign of spring and future feasts. Nonni showed me how to harvest ripe spears, emphasizing not taking too many from the young bed. The taste of those homegrown spears was incomparable, incredibly tender, sweet, and flavorful. Nonni's asparagus bed was a powerful lesson in delayed gratification and planting for the future. In today's fast-paced world, planting something requiring years of waiting is less common, but for patient gardeners with a sunny, well-drained spot, an asparagus bed is one of the most rewarding and long-lasting features. It truly keeps on giving, Nonni's wisdom at work. Buried clay pot irrigation. How did Nonni keep her thirsty plants adequately watered during dry spells without wasting precious water? She employed an ancient, incredibly efficient method known as buried clay pot irrigation, olla irrigation. This technique involves burying unglazed clay pots directly in the soil near the root zones of plants and regularly filling them with water. The brilliance lies in the porosity of unglazed clay. Water slowly seeps out through the pot's walls into the surrounding soil, delivering moisture directly to the roots where it's needed most. This minimizes surface evaporation and runoff, common with overhead watering. Plant roots are drawn towards this consistent moisture source. I remember helping Nonni bury these pots near tomatoes and squash, amazed as water disappeared without puddles. Plants watered this way remained healthier in heat. Nonni's use demonstrated deep respect for water. It's an energy-free, water-wise, sustainable method. To save water, try this ancient, clever feature. Nonni also had simple, effective ways to protect individual young plants from threats. Let's see her cloche covers. Cloche covers. How did Nonni shield individual seedlings from frost, cold winds, or early pests? She used cloche covers, small, portable domes placed over young plants, often made from salvaged glass jars, plastic bottles, or specific plastic domes. These acted like tiny individual greenhouses. They trapped heat from the sun, creating a warmer microclimate around the plant. This protected them from cold air, frost, wind, and even deterred slugs or birds. I loved peeking under them, seeing the snug, protected sprouts. Nonni used them as part of hardening off plants started indoors, gradually exposing them to outdoor conditions. Today, fabric row covers protect rows, but cloches offer targeted protection and charm. Nonni's cloches were like little hats shielding plants until strong. They showed her care for every sprout. If you need to protect individual seedlings or early starts, try cloches. They offer function and vintage style. Nonni's famous roses were incredibly stunning, thanks in part to a rather unique fertilizer trick, the stink bucket. What was that pungent-smelling bucket often found discreetly near Nonni's prize-winning roses? Her stink bucket. Despite the name, this was a carefully brewed homemade liquid fertilizer, often called compost tea or liquid gold. Nonni filled a bucket with nutrient-rich organic materials, kitchen scraps, garden waste, sometimes diluted manure, and added water to let it steep and decompose. This created a concentrated liquid rich in soluble nutrients. I remember the smell was strong, but Nonni would dilute it heavily with water and apply it to her heavy feeders, especially the roses. The results were spectacular. Incredibly vigorous plants with abundant, vibrant blooms, often more resistant to pests. Today, bottled fertilizers are convenient, but this DIY method is powerful, natural, and free. Nonni transformed waste into vital plant food, closing the nutrient loop. It taught value in humble materials. If you garden organically and can tolerate the aroma, try Nonni's stink bucket. Diluted, it proves nature's effectiveness, even if it smells. Nonni had clever ways to store harvests besides the root cellar, like hanging techniques. Let's see her onion braids. Onion braids. How did Nonni successfully store her abundant harvest of onions and garlic for many months without using bags or bins that could trap moisture and cause spoilage? She utilized a beautifully simple traditional method, braiding their dried leafy tops into long, hangable strings. After harvesting, she would cure the bulbs until the tops were dry and papery. Then, she'd take several bulbs and braid the dry tops together, incorporating new bulbs as she went, creating a sturdy string. I loved helping twist the stems, feeling like I was creating something both practical and beautiful. These braids were hung in her cool, dry pantry or kitchen. Compared to bins, braiding allowed crucial air circulation around each bulb, preventing mold and rot, keeping them fresh for months. Nonni's braids were both a functional storage solution and a charmingly rustic decoration. They were a visible display of the harvest and self-sufficiency. If you grow onions or garlic, try braiding them. It utilizes vertical space, looks beautiful, and is a direct connection to effective, time-honored preservation techniques. It's a feature embodying tradition and utility. Nonni's berries were legendary, especially her strawberries. Let's uncover her dedicated strawberry patch. Strawberry patch. Why were the strawberries from Nonni's garden consistently the sweetest, most flavorful, and most abundant berries? A significant factor was her dedicated, well-established strawberry patch. Strawberries are perennials that spread vigorously via runners, forming new plants and expanding the patch year after year. This created a dense patch that yielded incredibly juicy berries each summer. I absolutely loved harvesting from Nonni's patch. The simple act of plucking a warm, perfectly ripe berry and eating it right there was pure bliss, a burst of intense sweetness. Plenty were eaten on the spot, but many went to Nonni's famous jam. Today, container gardening for strawberries is popular, but a dedicated ground patch offers a delicious, traditional, and often more abundant feature. Nonni's patch was a consistent source of summer joy. It taught patience. Waiting for perfect ripeness made them sweeter. If you have the space and sunshine, growing a strawberry patch is a delightful idea. It's a feature Nonni cherished, bringing the sweet taste of summer and fostering beautiful garden memories season after season. Nonni's garden was truly a multifaceted, timeless treasure, a place filled with practical wisdom, incredible resilience, abundant productivity, and a powerful spirit of community. We've journeyed through 15 of her remarkable and often overlooked features, uncovering her genius in growing, preserving, and connecting with nature and people. But there is another dimension to Nonni's garden, one that goes beyond simple function. Get ready, because you're about to discover how she infused her yard with profound beauty, soothing tranquility, wonder, and a touch of pure magic, transforming it into a truly unique space with breathtaking, unexpected features designed to nurture the soul and ignite the imagination. Cascade. What specific element did Nonni introduce that added enchantment and incredible tranquility? She incorporated a cascade, a small, naturalistic waterfall where water tumbled gently over rocks into a pond or pool. Built with local stones, its soothing sound was inherently relaxing, masking other noises and creating peace. Beyond the sound and visual movement, it attracted wildlife like frogs, dragonflies, and birds, adding life to the garden ecosystem. I loved sitting by it, listening to the water, observing nature, feeling peaceful. Today, elaborate fountains exist, but natural cascades bring unique tranquility and connection to the elements. Nonni's cascade was simple, using gravity and local materials for beauty and atmosphere. It showed how a nature-inspired feature can transform a garden's feeling. If you have a slope or want to add the calming element of moving water naturally, building a small cascade is a beautiful, enriching feature. Nonni also added elements purely for delight, imagination, and architectural interest. Let's explore her follies. Follies. How did Nonni infuse her garden with a sense of playful discovery and whimsy? Through follies, ornamental structures built for delight rather than strict utility. These could be anything from miniature temples or mock ruins to decorative gazebos. Nonni had a beautiful rose-covered gazebo, which acted as a charming destination and added architectural interest. While offering a place to sit, its primary role was aesthetic and imaginative. For my young imagination, it was a castle or a secret meeting spot. Follies were popular in grand old gardens, adding surprise and character. Today, they are rarer in smaller gardens but make a space magical and personal. Nonni's follies showed her love for creativity and nurturing the spirit. Adding a folly, even a decorative arch or unique garden art piece, is a joyful feature inviting exploration and sparking imagination. Nonni also valued quiet and solitude in her garden. Let's visit her hermitage. Hermitage. Where did Nonni retreat for peace and quiet solitude? In her hermitage, a simple rustic cabin or sheltered spot in a secluded corner of the garden, nestled among trees. It wasn't elaborate, perhaps just a bench and table. Its purpose was singular, to provide a sanctuary for quiet contemplation, reading, or simply being still and observing nature away from activity. I sometimes joined her, learning the value of silence and finding calm. Historically, hermitages were in old estates for reflection. Today, dedicated quiet spaces are vital in our noisy world. Nonni's hermitage, however simple, was her haven for the mind and spirit. Creating your own secluded spot with a comfortable seat for quiet reflection connects you to this tradition and provides a needed sanctuary. Nonni preserved smaller harvests like herbs using a simple, effective technique. Let's see her herb hanger. Clothespin herb hanger. How did Nonni dry herbs without machines? She used a clothespin herb hanger, a piece of string stretched across a dry, airy space, with herbs clipped on using clothespins. Harvested on a dry day and hung out of direct sun, herbs air-dried slowly, preserving their flavor and aroma. I'd smell basil and mint drying in her kitchen or pantry. Today, dehydrators are faster, but this method is energy-free, simple, and effective. Nonni's hanger was busy in summer, preserving herbs for winter meals, bringing summer flavor indoors. It showed simplicity often wins. If you grow herbs, hanging them is a fragrant, functional feature connecting you to traditional preservation methods. Finally, Nonni generously shared her garden's bounty with others, fostering community. Let's join her tomato parade. The tomato parade. What happened when Nonni had too many tomatoes? She joined the tomato parade, a joyful, informal neighborhood tradition of sharing and swapping surplus produce. When her tomatoes were abundant, she'd share or trade them for a neighbor's excess zucchini, beans, or cucumbers. I loved carrying baskets, trading with neighbors, and seeing the community spirit in action. It wasn't a transaction, but sharing abundance and connection. Today, while food banks exist, this direct neighborly sharing tradition is less common. Nonni's parade was about community, sharing abundance with love and reducing waste. Start your own parade. It keeps Nonni's spirit of generosity and connection alive through homegrown food. Hook Nonni's garden was truly a timeless treasure, a place filled with wisdom, resilience, beauty, and community. We've uncovered 20 of her forgotten secrets. Now, the final question: how can you take inspiration from Nonni's genius and bring some of her amazing ingenuity, connection, and traditions into your own backyard today? Don't go anywhere, because I have some final thoughts and tips to help you start your journey. There you have it, 20 old garden features Nonni had, many forgotten today. These were more than techniques. They were expressions of her love for the earth and community, crafted with grit and grace. From practical tools to spaces for the soul and practices fostering connection, Nonni's garden shows what's possible when we work with nature, value resourcefulness, and share. Her legacy reminds us that effective, meaningful gardening doesn't always need high-tech gadgets, just timeless wisdom and connection. The oldest ways can be the most valuable, simpler, sustainable, and joyful. Do you have a gardening tip from your own Nonni or an elder? Share it below. If you were inspired, please like this video and subscribe for more on traditional wisdom and sustainable living. Remember, in the garden, just as in life, when we nurture our roots, we thrive and share. Happy gardening, friends!